so good. So let me share the material and I will explain one by one. And let me start with this slide of the dynamic synergy. And again, when I explain dynamic synergy, I explain this is a mixture of PLC and PPM. What is PLC? Anybody? Yes, product life cycle, Misato. Exactly. What is PPM? Yes, exactly. Product portfolio management. First, product life cycle. Remember what the product life cycle was. Product life cycle for each product, there are four stages. First, introductory, then growth, mature, and decline. And product portfolio management, there are four kinds of businesses based on the relative market share on the horizontal axis and industry growth rate on the vertical axis. And there are four kinds of businesses. One is cash cow, which can sell more and generate the revenue and generate profit. Stars, even though it's still in the introductory stages, it's possible in the future it can be the growing stars and make profit. Also dogs, which seems to have no future because the relative market share is very small and industry growth rate is small. And also problem child or question mark. Dynamic synergy, again, it is a mixture of product life cycle and product portfolio management. Again, in the product portfolio management, there is a cash cow. Cash cow can make a profit. And the gist of product portfolio management is using this profit from cash cow, where you will invest this money on the cash cow, stars, question mark, or dogs. The creator of the product portfolio management, Boston Consulting Group, suggested it is better to invest this cash either on the stars or question mark. Stars has a future. Question mark, it depends. It has a future, or maybe it can be the dog. Okay. And in this case, in dynamic synergy, here, there are two photos of two products. One, it's like a calculator. It's an old products for Casio, for example, Japanese companies. And for them, relatively new products for compared with this calculator, it's the watch. Even though it's 1970s and 1980s. In 1970s, cash cow for Casio was calculator. So using the profit they make from the calculator, where do they invest in? They think about the stars and they find out this watch, digital watch is a star in that time. So they decided to invest in the profit in stars. And also calculator that time was at the maturity stage. And why they needed to invest in the watch, digital watch, because sooner or later calculator will be the declining products. And they will lose the consumers before they distinct from the market. Casio wanted to introduce another product which has a potential, that is this kind of product, digital watch. So
Recording in progress.
that time, again, calculator at the maturity stage, digital watch, either introductory or growing stage. And they invested profit from the product at maturity stage, cash cow, to the product of the stars at the growing stage. And no, there's overlapping. This kind of overlapping is necessary not to start from here, no, to prepare for the future. So this kind of having the overlapping, we call it dynamic synergy. Here, this overlapping period, there is a synergy using some technologies and cash in the new product. And that is dynamic synergy. Just remember, there is a case, product portfolio management and product life cycle, mixed, not combine them. And when you think about the future product, combining these two concepts and think about the actions, possible actions for the future, for the possible action, I mean the investment for the future is necessary. That is a dynamic synergy. And now let me explain about this dynamic capabilities. Now here we both have dynamic synergy and dynamic capabilities. The word dynamic, it's opposite of static. Not static, it's the situation at one point. Dynamic, it's moving. No, it's changing, continuously moving and growing. So dynamic means analyze the business not only at one point of time, but think about the time frame, even after 5 years and 10 years, and think about how you prepare for the future. Again, for this dynamic synergy, you prepare for the future with this kind of overlapping time. And dynamic capabilities is prepare for the future by improving the capability of the human resources inside the organization. That is dynamic capability. Here I explained 3 things, no, for continuously improve the capacity of the staff inside. First, it is necessary to understand the changes of the external environment, also adding more tangible asset by investing in tangible asset. Also need to accumulate intangible assets through learning by doing. So again, for continuous improvement of the staff capacity, capability, 3 things are necessary for the organization. Understand external environment. Invest in tangible assets. Also, through the operation, accumulate the intangible assets. 3 things. Again, when you think about the dynamic capability, think about your organization. How to improve the staff's capacity continuously. You need to understand what is happening in the external environment. And in many cases, you need to invest in the facilities, production processes, and so on. 3, through the operation, staffs learn and get more knowledges, intangible assets, I mean other knowledge for the future. These 3 are important. That is the dynamic capability. And on that, here behind strategic concept with Mission Impossible. Before this, I explained about the strategy driven by resources. Usually, resources are driven by strategy. No, first, you make a strategy, and based on that strategy, you decide the actions. But sometimes your action you make now and the strategy for the longer period is based on the resources you already acquired. And one example is Honda. Why Honda could declare to enter the production of not only the car, but also Formula One racing car. No, usually, as I explained, usually it's impossible to start the production of the car and production of Formula One racing car simultaneously, because the quality level of the Formula One racing car is much, much higher. But Honda and the founder of Honda, Mr. Honda, knew that they have the capability of producing really the good engine for the motorcycle. And he thought, if they can produce a good engine for the motorcycle, they can also produce a good engine for the car, four-wheel car. So this kind of good quality of engine, not used only for the car, ordinary car, but can be used for the Formula One racing car. That is why they can declare it both simultaneously. So Mr. Honda made a strategy to evolve to transform their business of producing the motorcycle to producing car and the Formula One racing car. This was a strategy for the transformation of businesses for them. And behind this strategy concept, which seems like mission impossible, for ordinary people outside Honda to produce Formula One racing car from the producer of only the motorcycle, it sounds like mission impossible. Usually it's impossible, but it was possible for Honda. Why? Because they already accumulated technology, skills good enough for the motorcycle winning in the motorcycle racing. So that is why they were sure they can also produce Formula One racing car engine. Again, behind this transformation strategy, which seems like mission impossible, but still it was not mission impossible for the people inside Honda. They considered it's possible. But is it clear now? Okay, one more. Before this, let me explain about MVP. MVP, in fact, I will explain something similar today when I explain about the technology, but I will explain MVP again. According to the Rees, who wrote the book called Lean Startup, this Lean Startup is a famous book among the entrepreneurs who want to start a business. And he suggested, if you want to make your business, new business, successful, you need to continuously improve your product or services. And you need to improve so that your products are accepted by market, by consumers. How do you know your product services are well accepted by the market? The easiest way is to ask the consumers if they like your product or not. If they don't like your product, ask them why they don't like your product. Then, using that information from customer, improve the product and make another improved one and ask the customers again if they like or not. If you continue this, in the end, you have the products which the customer like. And Rees call such kind of prototype of the product with which you ask the customer if they like or not. He called it minimum viable product. And why he used the word minimum? No, he didn't ask you to make a perfect product before you send it to the customers. You don't have to wait until you think you make a perfect product. Just to make the prototype of product and ask the customers. You don't have to wait until you get the perfect product. Doesn't have to be perfect. If you think you can make the prototype of the products, immediately send it to the customer, ask them their opinions. And that is why he used the word minimum. No, you don't have to prepare maximum products. Just prepare the minimum products, not prototype of products. That is why he used the word minimum. Minimum viable products, MVP. And sometimes if you participate in the business plan contest, maybe some judge will ask you, so what is your minimum viable product? What is your MVP? And you will explain. First, as soon as we make a prototype, we will send it to the customers and ask their opinion and continuously improve. You can answer like that. Okay, so that is a minimum viable product. And one more. How can I explain this? Let me explain one by one. Here, through all these materials of this material, we talked about the resources. And resources is necessary for executing strategy. Strategy execution is always backed by the resources. And resources, there are basically two kinds: tangible resources, tangible assets, intangible resources, intangible assets. And if you recognize tangible and intangible resources of your organization, first, think about how you can effectively use the resources you already have. That is why here I wrote effective use of resources. That is the first thing you consider for the resource fit of the strategy. And when you think about the effective use of resources, I showed some examples. For example, complement effect. Do you remember? Customer invite customers. The restaurant with long queue, that it attract such kind of long queue of the people attract more customers. And such kind of sorry, this is not that is not a complement effect. At the complement effect, think about the case of the resort hotel during the winter time for skiing. In summertime, they cannot have any customers. So you think about how you can attract customers during the summertime. Facilities used in only one season, you think how you can utilize that facility, hotel facilities in the different time of the season. That is the complement effect. And also synergy. I explained there are 4 kinds of synergies: operation synergy, investment synergy, sales synergy, and management synergy. You think about how to implement synergy, how to achieve the synergy. Maybe you can get some ideas for effective use of resources. Then, after you realize the effective use of resources, then you think how you can accumulate more resources for the future businesses. So think about accumulate efficiently is important. And there are direct and indirect accumulation. Direct accumulation, just invest the money and get the resources. That is the case of the tangible resources. For intangible assets, mainly it can be accumulated indirectly. Why I use the word indirectly? Because as I said, an intangible asset can be accumulated through learning by doing. Why I use the word learning by doing? No, doing means the operation by yourself. Inside your companies, there are many processes. For each processes, there's the operation. If you do it yourself for that processes, you will learn how to, you will learn about that process, and maybe you will get more better idea, knowledges about these processes. So by doing that process operation, you learn more. And that is the way you can accumulate the knowledge, technologies, or others intangible assets. That is why I use the word indirect. So again, for the accumulation of resources, there are two kinds, direct, indirect. Indirect accumulation is very important because direct accumulation, your competitors, maybe you can do, they can do the same as long as they have money. If they invest, they can buy the same. But for the indirect accumulation, your competitors, if they don't know what exactly you do in your operation inside the organization, they cannot imitate exactly. So it's very hard to be competitive against you. So indirect accumulation is very important. And lastly, I talked about the strategy driven by resources accumulated with the case of Apple and also the case of Honda, Honda, which I explained today. And if you can accumulate the resources, then you can get some ideas using those resources, which is very unique, different from others. Then you can get some ideas for the future strategies that nobody else outside your organization can think of. So that is a kind of summary of the processes you can think of when you think about your strategy in terms of the resource-based view. Is it clear now? If you have a question, just ask me the question. If there's any point still that you cannot understand. Do you understand MVP? What the MVP is?
Yes.
Okay, and okay, and now you understand what I tried to say with Honda's Mission Impossible. It was not Tom Cruise, but it was Mr. Honda in this Mission Impossible. And dynamic capabilities, dynamic synergies, always why we use the word dynamic, because the company, organization need to improve continuously, not only at one time, but improve continuously. For improve continuously and prepare for the future business, what you have to do is to prepare for the future. How you can prepare for the future? If you think about the product life cycle of your products and services and product portfolio management, how you can reallocate the money from one business to another business, then you get some ideas what you should do dynamically. So that is dynamic capability and dynamic synergy. Is it clear now? No, again, for the final exam, I don't ask you to explain in sentences. No, for example, I don't ask the question, what is dynamic capabilities? I don't ask you to explain, but at least think of, just try to understand what the dynamic capability is. And also, when we talk about the product life cycle, for example, what kind of stages there are in product life cycle. Try to remember those. I don't ask you what the product life cycle is, but at least you need to remember what kind of stages there are in product life cycle. Okay? Okay. And that is the same PPM or other concept. Okay, so that is the material from yesterday. And even though it says day 6, today is day 7, but let me start explaining this material. Again, still, I want to talk about resources, but today I want to focus more on technology, because basically the company, any company, even the service company, are involved in the technological transformation. Company have input, then get output and sell this output. Maybe you consider, if I use the word technology, it's only for the manufacturing industry, but it is not. I understand some of you are from the bank. No, I don't remember who it was, but I know some of you are from the bank. Even the bank, no, it is a kind of service industry, but you are using the technologies and you are transforming something to something with your technologies. For example, in the case of bank, what is input? Those from the bank, what is the input? Huh?
Save money.
Yes, exactly. Input for banking industry, banking sector is money. Then what is output? Output of the banking sector. What is that?
So service.
Service, yes. But what kind of service, Mr. Fai Bandit?
About the product from bank. Like
yes. What is the product of the bank?
Like exchange. Exchange money.
Money, yes. For example, the loan. No, loan is one of the product services of the bank, but it's also the money. So in the case of banking sector, input is money, output is money. But it's different kind of money. No, input, maybe they collect the money through the savings in the bank account from the people. Output, for example, the loan for the businesses. So it's the money, but it's different kind of money. Ordinary people cannot transform from this money to this money, because because banks use the technology they have and also the processes they have to transform from input money to output money. So again, this not technology, not only for manufacturing sector, but any kind of industries. And of course, as a company, because we talked about the customer needs on the second day, satisfying the customer needs is important as final destination, but firm trying to meet all needs without superior resources stuck in the middle. Stuck in the middle, no, you don't come any places. You cannot get any successes if you decide to enter the businesses which you don't have any experiences. No? So even though one business seems has a potential, but if you don't have any experiences in that field, you will not be successful. It's like, again, it's like a parachute type of diversification. So again, it's always need to understand what you have, what kind of resources you have. And especially when you think about the diversification of the businesses, what helps more? It's called core technology. Remember about Ajinomoto. Remember about Kewpie. What was the technologies they accumulated for developing Ajinomoto or mayonnaise? Do you remember what kind of technology was that? They used Ajinomoto or Kewpie used this technology for producing supplement. Do you remember what kind of technology was that? No. Start with A. Miss Cantley?
Sorry, I just get maybe a product, scale in product. Right?
Yes, but product use what kind of technology? It starts with A. Amino? Yes. Yes, Mr. Intapada. Acid. Amino acid technologies. Ajinomoto. In the process of developing Ajinomoto products. Kewpie in the process of developing mayonnaise with a good quality of mayonnaise. Both of them accumulated the knowledge about amino acid technology. And for them, that was the core technology. Not any kind of technology, but that amino acid technology was their core. That is why they decided to use this core technology for something else. That was the base for their consideration on diversifying businesses. Their conclusion, both of them had the same conclusion. Supplement, because they find out supplement can be produced with this technology. So again, to understand what your core technology is very important. And for setting the core technologies, first, if you don't have that kind of core technology yet, you have to nurture, you have to create, you have to have such kind of technology. After you can have such kind of core technologies, then what you have to think about is to realize that technology as product or services. Again, Ajinomoto, Kewpie realized their core technology, amino acid technology, as a product of the supplement. So they realize it as a product. And third, they established the backend technology for realizing product. Backend technology is like a production. They established the production system for that kind of product. Develop the new product, supplements, but just developing it, you cannot make it as a business because you have to be able to produce in mass volume, mass production, and you have to be able to sell to the market. So establishing such kind of back-end technologies, production processes and distribution is necessary. These three steps are necessary related to the core technology. And let's talk about nurturing the core technologies, how to identify core technologies. Do you remember on the first day, we discussed about images of basic concept? I introduced the case of the zoo in Japan, in Northern Ireland. They draw the pictures, that was the image. For Fujifilm, they had an image. After 20 years, their business, nearly half of their business revenue from totally new business, totally new products. Another case, Sharp. I also introduced the case of Sharp. their image of basic concept was sharp as the liquid crystal display company. No, this kind of LCD. Then, if they have this kind of image of the basic concept, their core technology should be these LCD technologies. How about Amazon? What is the Amazon? The founder of Amazon had, what kind of images founder of the Amazon had when he started this business? First, the selection of the goods through the internet. He started with the book only, but later expanded the any kind of goods. The selection of the goods through the internet with quick delivery. Not only vast selection, but with quick delivery. So for realizing this, what Amazon established was first their website, of course, and also fulfillment center. Fulfillment center is a distribution center. Now, in each country they enter, they always establish big distribution center. That is a difference between Amazon and ordinary e-commerce company. Why they establish this kind of distribution center? Because with this kind of distribution center, of course, it costs a lot, but later you can save a lot of money when delivering. Now, for ordinary e-commerce company, customer have to order the different product to different shops. So each shop send the products to the customers separately. Customers have to pay for the transportation separately. In the case of Amazon, because they can send all the product together in the same box, they can save the transportation cost much less. So Amazon had such kind of images. That is why they try to invest on this. Again, when those companies think about their core technologies, first they think about what is happening in the environment, external environment, what customer wanted. Then they think about what kind of internal resources they should have to implement it. And when you think about what is, when you understand what is happening in the external environment, sometimes if you understand the business cycle, the difference of the business cycle, it helps. What is business cycle? Of course, each business for each companies, there is sometimes a good time and bad time. And if we see the macro economy of one country or the regions of the world or the whole world, there is a business cycle. Small business cycle, medium-sized business cycle, and big business cycle. Small business cycle is like a cycle every 10 years. Medium-sized business cycle is like every 20 to 30 years. Large size of the business cycle is every 40 to 70 years, not long years. And different economists, researchers find out these business cycle. For example, this short-term business cycle was found by Juglar, medium business cycle by Kuznets. This is the name of the people who found this business cycle, and longer period business cycle by Kondrachev. And usually the short-term business cycle is made by the investment in production facilities. For the production facilities, production machine, almost every 10 years, company get the new machine. So that is why the business cycle based on the production facilities is every 10 years. And if it's based on the construction of building, it's rather longer. Usually the construction, the buildings, every 20, 30 years, people try to build different buildings. So it's about 20, 30 years. And technological innovation, especially the fundamental technological innovations, it happens every 40, 70 years. That is why there are differences. There are different business cycles. So if you think about this business cycle, you can also think about what is happening in the external environment. Again, besides this business cycle, what kind of concept framework you can use to understand external business environment? Do you remember? 4 alphabet. Do you remember? Start with P. What is other 3 alphabet? P, political, and 3 other alphabet to understand external environment. Do you remember?
PEST.
PEST, yes.
Yeah.
Pest, yes. Miss Cantly, what is E?
Economic.
Yes. And other people, what is S? S? Miss Cantly, do you remember what S?
I cannot remember. Just
okay.
remember PEST.
Okay. S.
Social.
Social.
Oh,
Yes.
social.
Social. Mr. Five Bandit. Yes. Social.
Yeah.
What is T?
Technology.
Technology. Yes, exactly. Mr. Katia. Technology. And when I explained pest analysis, I also said pest LE. LE. What is L?
Legal.
Legal. Yes, Mr. Donsikwak. Legal. And the last E. What is E?
Environment.
Yes, Mr. To, environment. Mr. Donsikwak. Yes, environment. So pest LE, that is one framework to understand what is happening in the external environment. And also you can think of this kind of business cycle. Then you can get a lot of information about the external environment changes. You can use those information to think about the future of your business. And let's go back to the core technology. And when we talk about the technologies, there are several levels of technology. Fundamental to much different levels. Fundamental technologies, I call it here, social structure transformation technology. Like there's a tree and it's like a trunk of the tree. Social structure transformation technology. With this technology, people's life, social structure itself can be transformed. Another word is, it is called general purpose technology. What is the example of general purpose technology? For example, electricity. 100 years ago, about 120 years ago, not many companies used electricity. No? And with the introduction of the electricity, then the productivity of the company increased so drastically. Development and introduction of electricity changed the people's life drastically. So electricity or this kind of engines from steam to locomotive engines, or this kind of the gasoline engine. These are the technologies which changed people's life drastically. So we call it social structure transformation technology, another word, general purpose technology. Then the second level of the technology is the product structure transformation technology. Not drastically change the people's life, but with these technologies, the product itself changed drastically. For example, with the battery, with the development of battery, no, there are many changes. And this is IC chip. Before IC chip, this is called transistor. This is not squared. This is transistor. With the development of transistor, it changed a lot. What is the changes? Because with the transistor, all the products can be smaller. Before transistor, do you know the size of the radio? This big. With the emerge of the transistor, Sony developed the radio with the using the transistor technology. What was the size of that radio? This size. So from this size to this size, it changed the product structure drastically. And even IC chip. No, IC chip, the quality of IC chip has been developing so rapidly. IC chip is like it has on one chip, it has so many transistors, and the number of transistors on one chip has been increasing. That is why the quality of IC chip has been improving so drastically. Now, with the development of this IC chip, now your computer is better than the computer of the 5 years ago or 10 years ago, much, much faster. And after 5 years, if you buy the new computer, it's much, much faster than the computer you use now. So it changed the product structure. The third level is product development technology. More like manufacturers try to develop new products. That is the product development technologies. Then the fourth level is the product quality or productivity improvement technologies. Toyota production system, that is something like this, no, to improve the productivity. So there are several levels of the technologies. And of course, if you can find out, if you or your company can find out either this level or this level, second level, maybe your company or you can get the Nobel Prize because this level of technology, it deserves the Nobel Prize. And that is why it's very difficult, but sometimes some companies can develop these technologies. Okay, but for ordinary companies, not big companies, medium-sized or small-sized company, how you can nurture such kind of technologies. Of course, closer to the trunk, it's more fundamental, but for the fundamental research, the uncertainty is much, much higher. So that is why the fundamental research, it needs more capital, even though the uncertainty is very, very high. That is why usually for fundamental research, only large enterprises can do. But for applied research, even the medium-sized or small-sized enterprise can do. So if your company's organization is not too large, you can think of how to implement, how to improve this fourth level of technology or third level of the technologies. And one more, these days, not everybody knows SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. If that technology is approaching the essential needs of the society of the people, maybe the possibility that the people need such kind of technology will be high. And how you can find such kind of technology closer or approaching to the essential needs of society, one way is to think about the relationship with the SDGs. Then, if there is some issues related to your company, also related to one of these goals, maybe in the future you find more customers, more demand somewhere in the world. Okay, so that is a relationship with the SDGs and technologies. And again, many companies, if they see some potential, they are allured, they are attracted by such kind of market. But again, if you don't have any experiences in that field, it's better not to enter it, but think about the field which is related to your past experiences. Okay? And some cases, for example, Tore, I introduced the case of Tore. I think it was day before yesterday. Tore, they stick to the fiber, even though the fiber itself, textile industry was declining in Japan. And because for Tore, fiber was the core technologies. Later, with this fiber technologies, they found out and developed carbon fiber. And as I explained, carbon fiber is now used even for the aircraft, the body of the aircraft, or for building the bridge. So it was good that they stick to this core, because later they develop really valuable products. But that doesn't necessarily stick to the core, doesn't necessarily mean stick to the old technologies. Sometimes core technology may be changed. In the case of Apple, first, they considered their core was a personal computer, but now they changed how from personal computer to digital network hub technology. That is a core for them now. And also talking about the technology and innovation, more than 100 years ago, Joseph Schumpeter talked about, Joseph Schumpeter is the one who started talking about innovation for the first time in the world. But he didn't use the word innovation. He used another word, new combination. By combining something different, then develop new product or new production process or new material source or new market channel or new organization. All these are the innovation. Innovation is made by combining something new. And there are 5, but if you look at these 4, except for new product, do you remember something? New production process, new material source, invested in the material source, or new channel, new organization, maybe related to the management. No, these 4 close to the 4 kinds of synergy. No, when we talk about 4 kinds of synergy, sales synergy here, sales, and operation synergy here, operation, investment synergy here, one of the investment, they invested in purchasing a lot of material, something like this, and also management synergy related to the organization. So out of 5 new combination by Schumpeter, 4 are closely related to the 4 kinds of synergy. Schumpeter comes first, then Andorf comes later. So probably Andorf got the idea of this synergy from this Schumpeter's new combination. And let me continue. I said not to stick to the old technology. Here is an example. Company called Epson, they also produce the printer. First, they produced the printer, like this kind of printer. It used the dot matrix technology. Now, before the printer, maybe young people do not know this kind of printer, but before the printer, when you want to print out something, it says it's very slow and it's very noisy. because they use a kind of different technology, not inkjet, but dot matrix technology. But now inkjet very silent and then not so noisy and faster. But when Epson developed inkjet technologies, they don't just abandon this dot matrix technology, but with this dot matrix technologies added new technologies and combine, then later develop their own inkjet technology printer. So again, from the transformation from this kind of printer to this kind of printer, not just jump, but they gradually added new technology and developed. But this kind of transformation, gradual, change to the new technologies, it doesn't happen often for American company, but it happens often for Japanese company. There is a big difference between American company and Japanese companies. Now, difference of the two countries' corporate systems, I will explain more in detail on Thursday. But today, let me just introduce briefly. In the case of US, in many cases, for each industries, usually when the technology develops, the main player of the company changes. For integrated circuit, first, GE was a major player, then Texas Instruments, and now it's Intel. Now the major player changed. Even it is the same for digital photo or digital imaging technology. Before, when camera film was a major product for the photo, Kodak was the major company. Now, like HP for the image, document imaging. But in the case of Japan, each industries, even though the technology has been changed, major player remain the same. For digital photo, Fujifilm, synthetic fiber, Toray, or IC chip, Toshiba. So why there's a big differences? Because of the difference of the corporate system, but I will explain that corporate system on Thursday. In a nutshell, in the case of US firms, it jumps throughout spin out. People quit the job from one company and started new company. That is the way it happens in US. In Japan, many people stayed in one organization, in the same organization. So instead of jump of the technologies, they gradually added new technology and shift the technology by combining new. And there is one framework. It is called Foster's S-curve. But it's S-curve because this kind, again, it is similar to the product life cycle. One product, introductory stage, growth stage, matured stage, and declining stage. There is no declining stage here, but without declining with 3 stages. Now, Foster said it's like a S, alphabet S, S-curve. And in the case of US, one technology is replaced by another technology. One company is replaced by another company. It's like one product is replaced by another. One company is replaced by another. So Foster show the transformation of the technology like these 2 S-curves. But that is not quite applicable for the Japanese cases. He's American, that is why he talked about the case in US. Do I explain too fast? Okay, if you have a question, just stop me, and then I will try to explain more. And the group work will be after the break. And let me explain some more before the break. We still have about 20 minutes. I want to show one example of the Japanese company related to the nurturing the core technologies. NEC, that is one of the large enterprises which produces like a computer or IC chips or something related to the computer communication. Before, they had a division, each division for IC chip, computer, other devices, but each divisions does not have close relationship with each other when they develop the products. So one day when CEO of NEC made the strategy, they restructure the way of thinking their technologies. First, they imagine what kind of product lines they will have after 10 years. Based on this forecast, future forecast, after 10 years, they set the common base technology, and with this common base technology, they consider what is their core technologies. And the conclusion, core technology is computer and communication. The technology related to the computer and the communication, like IT. And based on this core technology, they set several sub-core technologies like a pattern recognition technology, super LSI, large-scale integrated circuit technology, image processing technology like this. So gradually, they got the idea what can be the specific technology with this core technology. Besides this, they also think about strategic technology domain to connect sub-core technology to actual businesses, like a machine, device, software, and so on. So they made a matrix with these sub-core technologies and strategic technology domain. And here, there's an intersection. Here. No, there are many intersections. For each intersection, they try to develop new product. This is the way they try to develop new product, but it's all based on their core technology, computer and communication. That is a case of NEC. So far, so good. And let me explain now about Clayton Christensen's disruptive innovation. Again, after you graduate from LJI with MBA degree, and in the future, you have many opportunities to discuss with many management consultants or many business people from other countries. In that case, definitely you need to know this word, disruptive innovation. This is very, very famous word that people in business want to use quite often, disruptive innovation. Disruptive means like you change totally. No, it's like if we think about disruptive innovation of LJI, that means we break the LJI first and rebuild. It's like a disruptive innovation. Innovation first to destroy things and build. That is disruptive innovation. Why Christensen used this word, disruptive, like a destroying the things? Why? Because there are many large enterprises which are the market leader or the challenger, the second or third. Sometimes those companies, when they are replaced by the newcomer, that happens quite often. One example, do you know Uber? No, Uber, like transportation services. Before Uber, what kind of service people use? Taxi. taxi services. And there are several taxi companies in each companies, and usually in each country. Usually they are rather bigger companies. And those taxi companies, when Uber emerged, they don't care about Uber because they thought Uber is for the different kind of people. No, people who use taxi often, they don't like the Uber. That is the way the people in the taxi industry thought. But it was different. No, suddenly many people started using this service, Uber. Then taxi industries lost the customers. They didn't care about this Uber, but suddenly people started using. So they didn't recognize, but they are replaced. Such kind of newcomer, but which replace the market leader, is the company with disruptive innovation. Why market leaders didn't care about this newcomer, even though later they are replaced? Because they thought the services or products they provide has nothing to do with their customers. And why they consider it has nothing to do with their customers? Because usually disruptive innovations originate in low-end or new market. Low-end market means target the customers which pay only the low cost. Look for only the cheap services, cheap products. That means low-end market. And not catch on with the mainstream customers. Again, first, they don't try to target the same customers as ordinary taxi companies. They try to target something else. And they had totally different business models and driving prices down. The price is very low. And that is why many customers which are seeking the low cost services use it, but ordinary customers do not use it. And new technology drives to the different model. Again, they use the new technology. Uber, they use the application, which people, they can ask the car to come to their place using this application. No, taxi company did not use this kind of application, have different programs, different systems. So they usually, those companies with disruptive innovation use the new technologies. Because of these reasons, people didn't realize that they can be the big competitor, but suddenly they emerge as a big competitor. And this shows, the red line is the ordinary large companies which gradually improve their products first to meet the demand of the low-end market. They meet the demand of low-end market long time ago and gradually improved, and they also meet the requirement of high-end market. They already go beyond the high-end market. So that is why they don't care about the low-end market. But this blue line, newcomers, first it takes time to meet the low-end market, but suddenly after they meet the low-end market, many people started using, and even the high-end market people started using. So that is a disruptive innovation. Do you remember the case of Samsung Semiconductor? I talked about this I think last week. Why Samsung's semiconductor business became so successful when even though there are two companies in the global market, two countries as a market leader in the global market. Now, when Samsung entered semiconductor business, American companies, Japanese companies, they are the market leaders. No other companies, no other country. But because they competed at high-end market, they don't care about the low-end market. Yeah, it's like Japanese and American companies, semiconductor manufacturers are red line. They already meet the high-end requirement of high-end market, and they try to be much, much better. Then Samsung decided to enter the semiconductor business with low-end market, which American, Japanese companies do not care about, and try to be better in this low-end, then middle-end market, and accumulated the money, invested more money for the future for slightly higher level of the semiconductor. And suddenly, when American and Japanese companies realized, they became very, very competitive, even at the high-end market. So it's like they emerge later, they don't care, and suddenly they replace American and Japanese companies. So that is a disruptive innovation.
Sorry, teacher.
Yes, Mr. Bankam. Mr. Bankam, yes.
Yes.
Question.
How about important semiconductor for the technology? Yes.
Can you ask the question again?
Important semiconductor for the technology in the world.
How important the semiconductor is? Semiconductor technology is in the world?
Yes.
You mean now?
I don't know semiconductor important for the technology in the world. Yeah.
Okay. First of all,
I need you example about the semiconductor for the technology.
First of all, do you know what the semiconductor is, Mr. Bankam?
Yes, semiconductor.
Yes.
But I'm not sure. I hear
often
some people say, but I'm not sure for the technology needs.
I see. Okay. For example, you have smartphone, mobile phone, smartphone. Do you, Mr. Bankam?
Yes.
Yes. In your smartphone, semiconductor is used. Several semiconductors are used in your smartphone. And in your house, maybe you have some product like an air conditioner. You have air conditioner, right? You have TV, right? And you have other products. Almost all the electric products you have in your house, there are semiconductors in those products. Why? Because when you turn on the TV, maybe these days you use a remote controller, right? Remote controller, why it works? Because of the semiconductor. And the air conditioner, no, you set the certain degree, like 25 degree as a temperature. Then your air conditioner try to have some cool air so that it can keep your room at 25 degree, right? Why it can keep the temperature of the room at 25 degree? Because it has a semiconductor. So almost all the product, including the car, in these days, even the car use many semiconductors. Almost all the products, electric product, electronics products use semiconductors. That is why the semiconductor is very important and critical components for people's life these days. But the problem is the producer of the semiconductor, it is limited because for the production of semiconductor, you need a production machine, which is very, very expensive. You need huge investment. And the number of the producer in the world is limited. But still, the people all over the world need semiconductor because they want to use various kind of products. That is why the semiconductor producers has really the good business these days because so many others want to buy semiconductor from them. And so that is why it is very important for people's life. Did I answer your question, Mr. Bangkam?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, semiconductor is the core for the manufacturing.
Yes.
Everything for the technology.
Yes. These days, without it, it's difficult.
What's other country of the factory semiconductor in the world?
Say it again. Say it again.
What country?
What country?
Yes. Manufacturing semiconductor in the world.
I see. Good questions. To answer that question, I should divide into two parts: design of the semiconductor and actual production. Design of the semiconductor, the biggest country is US. Okay. Production of actual semiconductor, the biggest country in the world now is Taiwan. And South Korea is also one of the biggest because of Samsung and some other Korean companies. Taiwan, South Korea, these two countries are really important in the production of actual semiconductor.
Two countries have the factory for the makes semiconductor in
Yes.
the two countries.
Yeah. Not only two countries, but I am talking about the top two countries.
Oh, yes. I'm okay. I'm clear.
Yes. Okay. So and Taiwan is number one. Okay. So that is a semiconductor. By the way, it's almost 7 o'clock. So let's have a break for 15 minutes. And after the break, maybe we'll